Oh, sisters, let's go down. Let's go down, come on down. Oh, sisters, let's go down. Down in the river to pray. So, thanks so much for coming along tonight. We really appreciate your time and input. This is part of Remembering Together, which is a COVID community memorial project happening the length and breadth of Scotland. So we've got artists working over in the Western Isles, in Dundee, in Stirlingshire, down the borders, and I've been working right across East Renfrewshire for the last 5 months. The project is funded by Scottish Government and is managed by Greenspace Scotland. So firstly, tonight I'm going to share a short performance with you, which is about 24 minutes. Then we'll go into a bit of a chat about what East Renfrewshire's COVID Community Memorial could be. We've been looking not only at the loss, but also the frustration, the fear, the confusion of the last few years, and also hopefully some of the more positive elements of community support and neighbourliness, especially at the start of lockdown. We've been talking about the surrealness of the pandemic. The harshest restriction, of course, not being able to say goodbye to our loved ones while they were dying or being able to give them the send-off that they deserved. We've also been talking about younger people missing out on their rites of passage, already existing domestic strain imploding on itself, and a heightened awareness of mental health issues around isolation and lost confidence. We agreed we are not all in the same boat. I'm actually born and bred Barrhead, as was my mother, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother, who we'll meet later on. And in trying to unite the villages of East Renfrewshire, I've been looking at the historical industrial past, the growth of places through really quite ingenious use of the local waterways. The very same streams, dams and burns we took solace from during our lockdown rambles. East Renfrewshire is home to folks of many religions and many following no religion at all. But during lockdown, with so much time for reflection, I think we all became aware of our own spirituality a little more. Come on, sisters, let's go down to the river to pray. The title, Many Rivers to Cross, suggests we still have a way to go.
It was totally surreal. It just was. Did that actually happen? You know, I feel as almost as if I haven't actually properly grieved.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, fathers, let's go down, come on down. Oh, fathers, let's go down to pray.
My dad was in a care home, and the care home went into lockdown on the 23rd of March. And from that point on, I could only visit him from the window. And luckily, he was on the ground floor, which was wonderful. I was visiting from the window, and then the next thing I heard was that he had a high temperature and he was going to be put into isolation for 7 days. So he was isolated in his room, and he didn't even last 7 days. That was a shock. that was a shock, because at that point in time, nobody said to me, oh, he's got COVID. You know, he's just got a high temperature. And it's possible, there's a 50-50 chance that he's got COVID.
Oh, fathers, let's go down. Let's go down. Come on down. Oh, fathers, let's go down. Down to the river to pray.
Me and my family were kind of like all trying to just manage my brother and all that. He has autism, so he was kind of thinking about, oh, what about the germs and everything? So it was a lot more hard to do that whilst my mum worked for the NHS.
I was actually at the window when he died, and that was as close as I could get, you know. And I mean, even if they had asked me to go in, I think I would maybe even have been too scared to go in. They had no PPE to give me. They had hardly enough for themselves. So that was how it happened. And he wasn't really ill. I mean, he was quite all right before all of this.
Everything kind of became, oh, you can't go in there. Like for my brother's room, he's freaking out. Like I came home from school and he would be like, you can't come into my room, you have to go get changed and all that until I could go in. So it was just like the major germaphobe came out.
Come on, brothers, let's go down, down in the river to pray. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. 2 metre distance, that equals 6 feet. 20 seconds. Wash your hands for 20 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Not wearing a mask, you can catch COVID in 1 minute on a bus. Everyone wearing a mask, it's 5 minutes. Open the windows, and it's 10. 14, 11, then it was 9, 7, then 5 days isolation. The R number estimate is between 0.8 and 1.0. Now, is that cases per 10,000 per population or per 100,000? Do I call 101 or 999? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I threw him back again. SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, Omicron BA5, 5-mile radius, travel restrictions. But are we in tier 1 or in tier 2 this week? I know my auntie, she's still in tier 3, no-go area. It used to be 30 people at a wedding, 20 at a funeral, and 48 rolls of toilet paper. Why did you let him go? Because he bit my finger so. Which finger did he bite? This little finger on my right.
Could never afford like a proper laptop or internet, so I was months behind when the school finally provided me with the tools to do online schooling, and I ended up never focusing on my work. The days sort of just merged together, like I never knew what time it was.
I didn't have much of a grasp on schoolwork at the beginning. That meant that sort of all the days started just to merge into one. It was weird because it's, you know, at one point it was the summer holidays, and then it didn't really feel like it was a holiday.
Well, COVID to me was a disaster because living on your own and the isolation, because I had just become 2 years membership of this men's shed where the companionship and everybody was so friendly. That's what I missed with COVID.
Well, my problem is I loved it. I loved being in lockdown. I'm fortunate enough to live out in the country. We live on a part of a farm, so I had as much freedom as I wanted. The roads were quiet. I could go out and walk every day.
Especially when like just trying to connect with your family, because you obviously don't really connect with them when you're a teenager. You're more like out and about trying to hang out with your friends. And when you're stuck in a house with them, you're being forced to connect with them, and you find out things you either don't really want to know about, or you find out like your family's not as nice as you thought they were. And
the first 3 months was really hard for me. I didn't think I was going to cope myself. And I was crying, I was upset, I was blowing the top, taking a lot out on him. It wasn't his fault.
During the COVID, the purpose was just to keep yourself going. Make sure you didn't lie in bed all day and make sure you ate properly. That was the main thing about me in the COVID, was just keeping going. That was the truth.
My wee granddaughter was only 2 or 3 at the time. She kept me going. Maybe if that way, I would have been in that house myself. And I hate to be alone. And I know I might have done something bad. My granddaughter wasn't there, so it was a spirit to me. Because in the morning, she woke me up. If it wasn't for my granddaughter, I wouldn't have got up at all. I would have just slept through.
It could be very easy to become depressed if you're that way inclined. That could just set you over the line.
And this loneliness won't leave me alone. It's a drag to be on your own. Many rivers to cross, but I can't seem to find my way over. Wandering, I am lost as I travel along the Leven water. Many rivers to cross, and it's only my will that keeps me alive. I've been licked, washed up for months, and I merely survive because of my pride.
The way it worked was I didn't have COVID, and then when my whole family had it, it switched out. So my dad would have it 1 week, and there'd be 2 days, and my sister would have it, and then maybe another 5 days later my mum would have it, and then my dad would not have COVID by that point, so it'd be switching out.
On Instagram and stuff like that, and on the news, and there's like people are thinking it's a conspiracy. I was a bit like confused really thinking that, because like people have died. I was just wondering, where did they think all the deaths came from?
If you've been living on your own for a while, it's not a big change.
I spent a lot of time during lockdown in my own room, at the same time as it was like a personal, like happy place that I could go to and I could escape from things. It was both at the same time, you know, it was happy, but it was also very claustrophobic, you know.
I come downstairs, there's one thing on my mind, and it's the last pot noodle. I wanted it for my dinner because I didn't feel like cooking, and I find out that my sister ate it, and we like started screaming at each other. I lost my rag. Can't believe you've eaten my pot noodle, now I'm gonna have to cook myself dinner. You don't own the pot noodle, that wasn't yours. And we were just screaming at each other, losing our absolute minds. The tension was palpable in the household.
Just add pressure, so water boils at higher temperature. The only way to increase the temperature of boiling water as it converts to steam is to increase the surrounding pressure. This can be achieved by trapping the steam in an enclosed space. As water transforms into steam, it expands in volume. If the volume is not allowed to increase, the pressure and therefore temperature will increase. Pressure cookers trap steam in an enclosed space through the airtight lock-and lid. The longer the water boils, the more the steam pressure builds within the vessel.
while we were in lockdown, I came out to my dad as trans, and thinking that I would be like happy and comfortable sharing this with my dad because he was somebody I trusted. It turns out he didn't accept it, and I was stuck in the house as somebody who I thought I could trust. it wasn't a nice experience. Like, I was constantly dead named, misgendered, like, he never took anything into account. And I actually, towards the end of COVID, when all the restrictions had lifted and everybody was going out more, I actually ended up moving out, and I'm now in my own house after COVID.
It felt as if like a lot of the blame got shifted onto us for some of the stuff. There was a lot of things that were like, oh, you know, teenagers are like going out and they're like spreading COVID around, and you know, it's the main source of it is schools, and schools are the issue, and things need to get shut down. And it was kind of like, well, you know, we could actually try and help, but we've got no idea what we're doing. You know, we can't help because you're not telling us anything, and you know, we can't go and get vaccinated. You've told us that we can't go and get vaccinated, so you know, what do you want us to do? Like, we have to try and live life some way, you know.
Everybody's had their own different experiences, but from what I've experienced, a lot of my friends who are also part of the LGBTQ community also seem to find it really difficult stuck indoors with their family who didn't quite understand them. I now have like a big, really supportive group of friends. The fact that we've been able to like trust each other that much. I may have lost friendships, but I've gained friendships out of that. We were all on a group chat and we would talk until late hours of the night. You find people you didn't really originally think you would get on with.
We discussed the importance of breath during the pandemic. Nature had a breathing space to heal, and we certainly had enough room to stop and breathe. But at the same time, encountering another's breath became dangerous, while COVID patients torturously struggled to breathe. This photograph is from the Spanish flu pandemic in 1918. And roughly 20 years before that global pandemic, my great-grandmother, Mary Ann Banks, she's in the back row, 3 in, with the white blouse. She was working as a bleach girl on the banks of the Leven Water, just here. This photo is taken at the South Arthurlie Print Works. Bleaching of cloth was traditionally carried out by the women while the men concentrated on printing and dyeing. Some of the women in this photograph probably came to Barrhead from Ireland in the Highlands, as did Mary Ann Banks. She came down from Caithness, pregnant and unwed.
Eventually I had to move up with my grandparents, and that's when I really started connecting with nature, because there's no Wi-Fi. At the top of the hill there's a loch. I would get a stick and I would chuck it in the water for my dog to go chase, and then I would go swimming as well, and it was quite nice just to like be alone. Actually, I enjoyed my own company. It wasn't like lonely, it was just me.
All the villages in East Renfrewshire started up through water power, through bleach fields and cotton mills. The burns were managed by reservoirs up in the moors. So there's a kind of common origin to all the villages from about the 1770s. Most of the villages had 2 cotton mills, Busby, Eaglesham. Barrhead had at least half a dozen right down the Leven. It was a major thing right across East Renfrewshire, and it was all to do with managing the water for water power. Nowadays, the reservoirs are all used for drinking water, and most folk think they've been built by Scottish Water, but they're there for water power.
Once things settled down, we still met as a choir in the car park of a big church out in the open, 6 feet apart, so all wrapped up. But the thing is, out in the open, the only voice you hear is yourself. It was a good laugh. It was just an excuse to keep meeting, you know. There's no way we could do it indoors, so we were outdoors, frozen stiff.
On the Leven, the long loch was built at the top. It stored enough water to power the mills for 16 weeks. So if it was full, they were safe for 16 weeks from a drought. And there was a wee guy that rode up in the morning on his horse and lowered the sluice by 3 inches, and that provided enough water to turn all the mills right down the Levern. It gave work to about 3,000 people right down through Barrhead and Neilston.
I would say we're better last week and this week than we've been. There's still people not come back. Probably folk that have families, that have got a life at home sort of thing. That's the main thing. I couldn't get back quick enough.
I barely had any confidence during lockdown and all that. I was never able to talk to anybody, and now I'm out trying to build up my social skills, which is really good, and I volunteer and all that now.
The world has changed. It won't go back to the way it was in 2019.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way.
I met with a recent widow in her 80s, and she told me about her husband's funeral. On that day, the crematorium staff said if the immediate family wanted to move their 3 chairs together, they were welcome to do that, but they had to move the chairs themselves.
I think it was 10 at that point, so there was just me and my neighbour. She came with me, and care home manager and 2 or 3 members of staff, and that was it. My sister was out in America, couldn't get over, so it was all videoed through to them, so it was pretty horrible.
We did lose a close neighbour who died during the first lockdown, but we were able to gather outside in the courtyard on a freezing windy day, but sent him off that way.
Everybody's lifestyle just became much more simple, and almost take a step back in time to the days before technology. And I thought that was a good thing, because people's values, I hoped, would change, rather than I've got to get this phone and I need this car. These things are not the important things. And I was hoping that everybody would kind of get that feeling.
As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way.
When we organise a loved one's funeral, we're creating a personal memorial to that individual. So how can we translate the same attention and feeling into a larger memorial for all of us in East Renfrewshire, to commemorate not only those lost, but also mark the recent times we've all lived through? Oh, I wish I had a river I could skate away on. Wish I had a river so long I'd teach my feet to fly. Oh, I wish I had a river I could skate away on. Thank you.